right, this is Leah's image. You're at ISO 100, 40 millimeters, f18 at 1/80th of a second. So this 1/80th of a second is fast enough to hand hold, but it might be worth it for you to open up your aperture a little bit more so that you have a shutter speed that's fast enough that you don't have any issue with any camera shake, right? If a leaf blew through your scene, or if this fly back here moved, you wouldn't show any movement. So instead of f18, you could shoot this at like f11, and then you'd have a much faster shutter speed. Your blue is more of a cyan than a blue, really, but this big, I'm not sure what it is, it's some sort of child's toy, it looks like, is your blue for the subject. Your image is really pixelated. So as we look back here, we can see the actual pixels of your image. You can see how the darker ones and then the lighter ones and then the brighter ones. So these are actual squares. These are the pixels of your image. So you're doing something in your sizing where we're not able to see the correct size of the image. So I need you to go back to your original and resize that image, because here we're getting really pixelated. You can see that really up in there and then down in this area. That's where it's most apparent. You're working with hard light here, and hard light, when you're working with shapes like this, can be kind of interesting because then we have the line of the edge here, and then we see that line again here. We see the shape here, and we see that shape again here. So it can really emphasize the shape that you're using. There's some distracting elements here, like the wood fence here, the netting, the whatever this is down here. So shooting this as a vertical image instead of a horizontal image may allow you to focus just on that blue subject. And then here we have your yellow and blue image, and this is similar to what we saw from Kayla's image earlier. And we have the yellow flowers at the bottom of the screen, and then at the top we have a blue sky. Again, this is a really pixelated image. You can see those pixels up in here. So you have the shape. You see them over here. It's pretty clear that this is pixelated. So again, it was too small, and then you made it large. So you'll need to make that adjustment. I noticed that you have the same settings. You're at f18 here and f18 here. ISO 100, 1/80th of a second. So everything's exactly the same. And as you're photographing different scenes, it's important that you make adjustments for each scene. So here you might want a shallower depth of field, or you might want more depth of field. Either way, that's something that you need to be deciding and making creative decisions for each image. Also, we see a lot of dirt on your image sensor here. So that's what this is, here, 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 here. I'm not seeing that. Oh, we see it here and here. I thought that was just on the wall. Do we see this? Yep, you see that happening. Oops. And then what's down here? Can't really see that, but that's dirt on your image sensor. So you need to make a change with that. You need to either look on the internet on how to clean your image sensor, or take it into a shop to get it cleaned, because that's pretty dirty there. And then it looks like you have your slide here. You have the flowers and sky. You have just a plain blue sky. You have the flowers and the blue sort of slide that you were dealing with. Here you have cyan and red. So it's great to see that you're making some other options here, that you're playing with different ideas of different colors. Now these last two images by Antonio and by Nakia is you've switched your order. So we need the primary color to be the first image. So that would be blue for both of you. And then your second image would be blue and yellow. So here you started with yellow. So we need to make sure we're working with the primary color, not the complementary color here, or the additive color, not the subtractive color, right? So here we would want this first image to be of blue. But here your yellow, your ISO 100, 53 millimeters, f7.1 at 1/160th of a second. Those settings all look good. That f7.1, because you're close to the fence, allows the background to fall out of focus. So we're really able to just focus on these lines and the background falls away. You can see the light that you're using creates decent depth here, as one side of the fence is lit up and then the other side falls to a little bit of a shaded area. So that allows us to see the three-dimensionality of it. You see that again here where it's brighter here and then it falls into the darker area. So that adds texture. If we didn't have that, these would all look like one piece, right? We won't be able to see each individual part of the fence. And then here we have the blue. So we have the blue coming down here and the blue coming across there, and it becomes more about pattern and texture. You're at ISO 100, 55 millimeters, f7.1 at 1/60th of a second. And just like we looked at with Leah's image, you have all the same settings for both of these. So make sure that you're making adjustments for every scene, whether you want more depth of field here or less depth of field here, a faster shutter speed or a slower shutter speed. And then this is a beautiful image that you turned in, Nakia. But this is complementary colors, right? So, or analogous colors, I mean. So you have the yellow and then the green, and those are next to each other on the color wheel. And if you want to go so far, you have green, and then next to green is yellow, and the next yellow is red. So you're using a whole side of the color wheel here, all analogous colors. And analogous colors are going to give us more of a calming effect. So this image really shows that. This is a calmer image because all of the colors are right next to each other on the color wheel. Now, like I said, this should be the primary color in this image should be blue. We want to start with that primary color, and then you would have the blue and yellow in your next image. But this is a really beautiful image. You're at ISO 200, 85 millimeters, f5.6 at 1/125th of a second. Your focus looks nice and sharp right in the center of the flower, and then it really falls off quickly, not because you have a super wide aperture, but because you're so close to your subject. And then here, this was your image for blue and yellow. We can see that bright blue sky happening here, but the building doesn't come across as yellow to me. It looks more of just a cream color. We have some yellow lights, especially like this light's more yellow, this light's more green, this light's more pure white. So we have some different colors of lights here, but the building looks like it's more white. You're at ISO 400, 24 millimeters. At 24 millimeters, as you tilt your camera to include the full building, creates this keystoning effect where it's going in towards the top, which can be desirable or it can be a nuisance depending on what your goal is with your image. But I want to point that out. F16 at 15 seconds, so a really long exposure here. That's great to see you experimenting with the longer exposures, and you have a good exposure on your image here. Now here, as we look at these images, this is really beautiful, all those colors happening there, but we have magenta and green. I'm trying to see if you have any images that work for this assignment. So you'd have to have one that would be blue as the primary color, but these are all kind of combination colors. So you need to have one image that's either blue, red, or green, and then you need your second image. I guess you could turn in like this image for your green image, and this image for your green and magenta image, or this image for your green and magenta image, and that would work fine. So you do have some examples of complementary colors here that if you wanted to turn in a different image, you could to get credit.